movieweb.com.
I wanted to begin by asking about when your character first meets Michael Caine's character, Harry Brown. Clearly there's sort of a mutual respect that she has for him, but at the same time, I was wondering if you just sort of could talk about their relationship and if she's sort of trying to save Harry in a sense, or what she's trying to do to help him.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways my character is the other side of the coin in a way from his character. I'm on the side of justice, and he's on the side of justice too, but a kind of a vigilante justice. And I'm in favor of following kind of the letter of the law. And but we kind of have a similar mentality in some ways, and I think it's, if you take as the model, which I think Daniel, the director, did take the Western genre as a kind of a model in the making of this film, although you have to look carefully to see it there, but it is there. And particularly in filming my character, he used the Western, what was it called, the cowboy shot or something, I think, is where you put the camera kind of at ground level and look and shoot looking up. So my character is the sheriff, and his is the vigilante, you know. And so in some ways I think we kind of bore into each other's souls in a way when we meet, and we have this sort of silent understanding, even though I haven't yet I haven't yet worked out that he is in fact the killer in the movie when we meet, but the wheels are starting to turn, you know, I mean, it's complicated how she thinks she's going to help him, but in the end, she has nothing to do with his journey. You know, he's on a journey, and he's going to take it come what may. And I think what happens to my character by the end of the film is kind of devastating. Like, her whole sense of the world, of her understanding of the world, is completely turned upside down, and she. In following the letter of the law, I take a good cop into a bad situation, and he ends up getting killed. In my dogged obsession with kind of finding justice and working out who committed the crime, I get somebody killed, and I think that really kind of throws me, because basically I'm a good person with a conscience.
and with Harry. You know, it sort of seems like death follows him around, or at least throughout the course of the film, at the beginning of the film. And he's sort of reluctant to go on this journey, but then eventually does. Does it seem like he wants to die? Do you think that's sort of, that his wife is gone, his family is gone, he says, oh, I'm going to clean up this neighborhood, I'm going to go on this no matter what happens?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think there's something in him that just snaps at a certain point in the film, and he is on a tear, you know, in a very literal sense, and he just doesn't care, and he has to he's out to win, even at a personal cost to his own life, and he doesn't care what happens to him. I think he just wants to. He wants to get to the end of his journey. There's something sort of fatalistic about it, and that's what I love about the movie in general, is that it takes this very kind of, now what has become kind of quite a cliched genre in a way, the sort of cop drama, you know, that we see every day on the television on 20 different channels, and makes it something really kind of epic and poetic in some ways, and there is a sort of a fatalism to it, and as I said, there's a sort of elements of the Western in it, and so it takes this quite sort of familiar genre and makes it into a kind of, you know, a movie.
Well, Michael Caine kicks some major butt in the movie. I mean, it's really pretty amazing. What was it like working with him and watching him do all this action stuff?
It was incredible, and what was more incredible was watching him literally sometimes in the space of a take go from being this kind of asthmatic, bent double old guy to being, you know, like the character, the sort of an iconic kind of badass, like he was in some of his old movies.
Yeah, it's kind of a
Carter.
throwback to some of his classic
Yeah.
crime capers.
Yeah, and what was amazing was for him, I think, and also for us, you know, who were around him during the making of the film, was that we shot this in Elephant and Castle, the East End of East London, in the projects, or we call them estates there, and that's where Michael grew up. So he was really revisiting his own kind of youth when he made this movie, and there he was, this huge film star in his 70s, coming back to this, you know, really dodgy neck of the woods, and getting to hang out with these youths, you know, and talk to them and somehow work out, you know, what had happened to the place in the intervening years. And there's this amazing mural there of him in Get Carter, a huge, like 20-foot high mural of his character in the movie Get Carter. And there was one moment where he, you know, where there we were, and he walked past this wall, and it was just so cool. There's an amazing sort of I don't know, symmetry to the whole thing for him, I think.
Wow.
You know, ending up back there playing an old guy, which he now is, but also playing a kind of iconic badass, like he has done all his life,
Right.
at the same time, in the very place where he was brought up, you know. So it was really kind of meaningful for him, I think, in lots of ways.
Yeah, and then quickly, I just wanted to ask you about the crime that's depicted in the film. That area, the estates that you were mentioning. I mean, is that really relevant? Is that would you say, is that similar to what's happening there? Is that
yes, I mean, I went into that whole part of it with a certain amount of skepticism, you know, wondering how much of that is really true. I mean, a lot of it is, it's definitely very widely reported in England, but you sometimes think, is this just kind of slightly right-wing newspapers trying to drum up kind of fear in people, and make out that the government isn't doing its job in protecting us and all that kind of thing. But actually, when I spent a lot of time there with a policewoman, a police detective, who you know, does exactly the same job as my character in the movie did, and it was very obvious that this is something that really is happening and is on the increase. And I think what it is that these areas are becoming, I mean, one of the reasons is, you know, it's really hard life on these estates, more and more so. The poverty is worse and worse, and access to drugs and guns is increasing, ever increasing, and it's a kind of a way of belonging, I think, for a lot of these guys, and in a community in which it's very difficult to feel like you belong or like you're part of something unless you join a gang. And it's definitely on the rise, and as the woman that I was tailing kept pointing out, the sort of price of life has decreased, you know, the value of a life is, so people will do the most extreme things just to get like a bag of grass or something, you know. They'll kill, and it's kind of like a badge of honor. And
oh, wow.
so it's definitely happening, and I think I've been told that it's happening here too, that there's an increase. I mean, it went down during the 90s and the early part of 2000s or whatever you call them. But in many of these big cities, it's on the increase in America too, the kind of gang crime, and it's not that gangs are being run by, you know, these sort of big drug dealers, or you know, that it's not some sort of operation. It's literally just guys belonging to kind of just sort of hanging out with each other and daring each other to do ever more.
Can you confirm that a number of deaths are attributed to a vigilante?
He told me to talk to the police, and what did you lot do? Nothing.
As far as I'm concerned, Harry Brown's doing us a favour.
He's got a gun! Who's got a gun?
You failed to maintain your weapon, son.